regarding this week's session, since I am streaming this live, I'm getting less and less people coming. Yeah. Everybody has been asking me for the streaming address, right? So maybe next time we should actually stream it from some living room, and then send everybody out, no need to come physically to meet anymore. But anyway, today, thanks for coming. Usually the guys will start streaming in, right? We're very fortunate to have Harish, right? I'm not going to read his CV because it's one of the longest CVs we have sent out since we started this session. I think the only one that's longer than you is Virginia Chan.
Oh, because she's got publications.
Yes. Yeah. So Harish and I have been friends for a long, long time, right? And Harish is really a pioneer, in my opinion, in the internet space in Singapore, right? He started in the good old days of Sembawang Media, right? Before, there was the predecessor of Pacific Internet.
No, we own Pacific Internet.
Oh, you guys own Pacific Internet, right? So it's a long, long time ago, right? And Harish was in this space since then, and still is since then, right? He is one of the major evangelists of open source, and working with Red Hat allows him to do that to further his passion. But today he's here on behalf of Internet Society, the Singapore chapter. He was the past president of the Internet Society in Singapore. He's now on the Board of Trustees, right, in the whole of Internet Society around the world, right? So it's actually very fortunate for us to have Harish here today to actually share a little bit about that. And I think it's going to be an interesting session, especially for the techies, right?
Yeah.
All right. So without further ado, let me just pass the floor to Harish.
Okay. Thanks, Chuck. I think we go back more than 20 years.
At least.
At Computer Society, more than 20 years. Okay. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Whoever's online and whoever's going to watch this 10 years from now. Hi. And maybe you're watching it 10 years from now. Okay. What I'm going to be doing today is to introduce you and hopefully enthuse you to participate in the Internet Engineering Task Force. So I'll try and detail what it is and the process. I'm speaking here not as someone from Red Hat. I'm speaking here as a person from the Internet Society, both the Singapore chapter as well as being a member of the Board of Trustees of the Global Internet Society. And what has got the Internet Society got to do with IETF? Internet Society is the legal entity that covers IETF and also provides funding to IETF. IETF in and of itself is not a legal entity, but that's where everything else you and I learn about the internet happens. So I want to set the context first. Second, I want to also introduce two of my ISOC colleagues here, Amelia and Olivia. They are based in Singapore, but they work for the Internet Society Global. So they are my kind of indirect colleagues from that perspective. So what I'm going to do today is to introduce you, if you're not already familiar with IETF, hopefully introduce you to it. But more importantly, before I start that, I want to ask a few questions. If I were to turn off the Wi-Fi right now in this room, what is your next best thing?
My own Wi-Fi.
Okay. I turn off the 3G network. What's the next best thing?
I kill you.
Okay. Now, before that happens, anything else? So you see how fundamentally important connectivity is. Question then to you is, what is it that makes it work? What is it that makes Wi-Fi work? What is it that makes your 3G work for what you need to do? It's not so much the 3G network itself, and not so much Wi-Fi itself, but the fact that you do something with it is what is of interest to you. All right? It's not it's just like I can build all the roads I want, but if there are no restaurants, no resorts, no hotels, no homes, nobody uses the road. So the internet is like that, but you need some things at the endpoints. So what IETF does is to help build those things. So everything that you do today, every single part of the moment you wake up in the morning to the time you go to sleep, and for all you know, while you are sleeping as well, if you're wearing one of those wearables, as you move around, roll around in the bed, that is measuring your heartbeat or whatever, and what is that doing? It's sending information out somewhere, somehow. Where is the somehow, and where is it going to? It's over the internet using internet protocols. Who built it? IETF built it. Okay, so with that context set, let me dive into it. So the IETF is this entity that was created by a bunch of geeks. It's not a legal organization. In other words, it's not registered. In other words, you cannot sue IETF. Okay, that's the definition of a legal organization. A registered organization. It cannot be sued and can't be sued. It cannot sue and cannot be sued, right? So it's not a. So the Internet Society gives the legal cover for IETF. IETF engineers are from anywhere, any organization, anybody, individuals. It is not corporate driven. It is not country driven. So it is people coming together to solve common problems. And what are the problems? Could be issues regarding, I want to have encryption, for example. I want to have better throughput in my internet traffic. I want to do whatever it is I want to do. That's how IETF is the place where that happens. So as you can see, the second bullet point is it gathers a large community of network designers, operators, vendors, researchers, and so on, concerned with the evolution of the internet architecture. So the internet, do you think, let me pose a question to you, do you think the internet has been developed sufficiently well and there's no need for anything else? Do you think it has to evolve more? Do you think it has to do more things? Right? I think the consensus is we have to do more, right? There are issues with the internet that we need to address, maybe security, maybe privacy, but there are some design issues, design philosophy behind the internet that makes it work and work so successfully, and that has to stay but while we evolve the rest of the technology. So the mission of IETF is to make the internet work better by producing high quality, relevant technical documents. It is not marketing speak. It is not flashy diagrams. It is technical documents that address real world problems with real world solutions. It may be sufficient for today. It may not be sufficient for tomorrow. So that's why IETF is a constantly moving beast. We do a lot of stuff. It takes time to get to the next level. Okay. So I give you some examples of where IETF has been successful. Well, actually, these are just picking up a few. I mean, IETF has been enormously successful, but I just want to pick up some highlights, right? I'm sure you have heard of IPv6. You know what is IPv6? Anybody know what IPv6 is? IPv6 is meant to be the successor to the IP numbers that we use today, which is version 4, IPv4. So let me ask you the question, is there IPv1? V2? V3? So we know there's a V4. So is there a V5? Actually there is, they are all there. It's just that these are the two that kind of like survive the game, as it were. But V6 is meant to succeed V4. And why does it matter? I don't know how many of you remember, or if you are old enough, I mean, at least I'm old enough to remember, that Singapore, we used to have 5-digit phone numbers.
Oh yeah, that one I remember.
Yeah, my dad's office, okay, his office number was 30933. That's it, a 5-digit number. And it was downtown in High Street. 5-digit number. I still remember it, right? But today, our phone numbers are 8 digits. So we have evolved. Our phone numbering system has evolved. So similarly, the IP has to evolve because of the number of devices that we need, or number of things that we need to connect to the internet. So the V4, IPv4 doesn't give you that range, that ability to do that. But we have stalled that shortfall by some clever networking, or some people call it a clever hack, which is actually, it is a clever hack, using network address translation. So those of us who have a router at home, how come I can connect 10,000 systems behind a router and yet it works? Because of clever engineering that goes behind it. So that's IPv4, but IPv4 has limitations. So we need to evolve this. So IPv6 is meant to. So IPv6 was again driven by people within IETF to make sure we adopt it. It hopefully will be global, but we still don't know when. So we encourage people to use IPv6 as much as possible. The other one I want to highlight on this slide is domain name system. We all love ask you this different question. If you flip open your phone and you want to call somebody, what do you normally do? Do you punch in the number or you just look for the name? Okay, names, right? Do you know your wife's handphone number or your husband's handphone number? Okay, you pass. Anybody else? Do you know your wife's handphone number? Okay, now you're nodding, you have no choice. So imagine you lose the phone and if you don't know the number, what are you going to do? Are you panic? Like, I don't know what's the number, right? So we are so dependent on a name. We are so good with names, not necessarily good with a string of numbers, right? So the same thing, the domain name gives us opportunity to remember the name rather than the IP number. So the DNS is a guide for you to be able to navigate and use the internet. But having said that, how many of you today actually type in the URL with the domain name as well? Or do you just search for something and click on it?
Type in a name with the www.me.
Yeah. Every time?
Depends on which website.
No, exactly. So that's the thing. Is that we don't do that as a default today. Yeah. We do that. So if you search for something, some results come up, and you click on it. Did you type in the actual domain name, or you just click on the result? You click into the search engine, and then you typed in what you wanted to search for, and then you went out that way, right? So that's how it worked. We are not doing that as much as we used to, but still a domain name is very important. It's a very important aspect of it. So IETF did that as well. We have other things to think about as well. Things like making sure trust on the internet. The trust is a very important aspect of life on the, today. For example, let me ask a different question. You are on the road, okay, and you are going from bank A to bank B. Do you trust that the road has to be secure and safe? Or is it sufficient for you to know that when I take the money out of bank A, I put it into a wallet or something like that is locked in my car, and I go to the bank B location and take up from the same space and go back into the building and deposit that? Is that sufficient for you? Or do I have to secure the entire road as well? So the question begs the answer, which is, you don't need to secure the road, but I need to secure the endpoints. So the same way, the internet is built on that basis. The security, accountability, privacy, authentication, everything is at the endpoints, not on the highway, as it were. I don't require the highway itself to be secured unnecessarily. You may choose to, but it's not necessary. Okay.
Depends on which country you're in.
Well, it depends on which country you're in as well. I mean, even on the internet, right? I mean, like we have private networks, right? Like the Singapore government has disconnected all of civil service from the public internet, so they have their intranet. It's just like most of us, we have our intranet. I can't get into your intranet. I can go up to your website or whatever it is. I can't go in further than that. So the same thing applies. But the point here is that you need to have security, but you do it at the endpoints. Okay. The bigger issue at the end of the day is what the internet gives you is the opportunity to collaborate. And the fact that we have startups going on here, a lot of the work they do here is collaborative. I always like to ask people this question. If you turned off the internet today, how would you do what you want to do? We all have done that when we were in school. Yeah. Right? I mean, I know my sons ask me, Dad, how did you do stuff when you were in school?
Go library.
Yeah, but go library, and then the book is not there, or the page is torn.
I guess if we were lucky, we don't have the US storms here. I just saw a picture of my own colleague.
Oh, is that right?
They were playing Monopoly for the first time.
Playing Monopoly because there's no power.
Internet.
So there you go, then we revert to playing Monopoly, right? But that's the thing, I mean, we take this for granted. Everything that we do is for granted. If you take away that becomes a challenge. Okay? So collaboration becomes the norm. So look at other things. How does IETF actually work? IETF is not membership driven. Anybody can be participating in an IETF event. Basic requirement is an email address and an interest in the area that you are concerned about. Okay, so you can participate in IETF activities by just signing up to the mailing list. There are thousands of projects that are ongoing. There are many events, many conversations going on different aspects about IETF, about different standards making, and all kinds of stuff. So signing up is the way to do it. So as you can see, the last bullet point says the actual standards work, okay, takes place on mailing lists. Attendance at face-to-face meetings is to resolve big issues. So, an IETF, the way things get done is by discussing, arguing, giving alternative suggestions, giving actual code that works. So if I want to do it this way, this is how it can work. I have made it work. Show me how, I can show you how it works. By proof of concept in this case, and make it work. And all of this discussion is all archived. So you can actually go back in history, look at the archives and see how did TCP/IP get evolved, get to where it is today. What were the compromises that had to be made? What were the discussions, what were the arguments, who was calling names against who? It's all there. So you can actually see how sausage is being made, as it were, right? So that's how things get done. But there may be some very critical things that really very hard to discuss on mailing lists. So what happens? We have IETF meetings that are held 3 times a year, somewhere in the world. And generally that's where you come and do a face-to-face meeting. Let's sit down together and figure out how do we resolve this particular whatever it is. That's basically how it works. Okay. So I mentioned that there are areas of interest within the IETF. These areas of interest cover many aspects. So here's an example of stuff. There are 129 working groups. Working group is where you actually do stuff with. Okay, and all of the working groups are mailing lists associated with it. There are these working groups kind of like aggregate into activity areas or areas that are of specific interest, and I'll show you a slide with that. But more importantly, that's the grassroots of IETF. That's where we all are. So this is where we contribute whatever it is that you want to contribute, all right? There is a person who is heading up IETF, is the chair of the IETF. The new chair is a lady. I think she's taking over in next meeting, right? Yeah, at Chicago. So the next meeting of IETF is in Chicago. She's taking over as the new chair of IETF. I think the first time we have a lady chairing IETF, and that is wonderful, right? The current chair is Jari. He's with Ericsson, who lives in Finland or Sweden, somewhere there, right? Somewhere in the Nordics. This person and I think 2 or 3 others are the only full-time staff of IETF. Everything else runs by volunteers. Every single bit. Okay. Let me just move a little bit quicker. Some of the working groups that I want to highlight, looking at the bigger areas, as follows here. Areas in general, supporting updating IETF standards, security, application, operations, transport services, routing, internet. There's a whole bunch of areas where many different technologies are being worked on, ideas being worked on. And when I say worked on, it basically means you're trying to craft a standard. This is actually a standards making body. It's just like international standards or an ISO. Okay, if you have heard of ISO, you have heard of Spring Singapore, for example. Spring Singapore in Singapore, we have an entity called IT Standards Committee, ITSC. ITSC is the standards committee for Singapore for national standards on IT. It comes under Spring. So similar to that, we have other countries have their own standards bodies. IETF is an international standards body. So anybody, in this case, IETF, the nice thing about IETF, and that's my bias towards it, is because you and I can be participants. I don't have to be associated with a company before I can be a participant, and that to me is very interesting. It's the real raw way of doing things, right? So let's look at some of the trends in IETF. How many of you have heard of HTTP/2? Anybody know what it is?
No, not really.
Don't know what it is. Okay, you know HTTP 1.1. 1.1 is what we have been using since about 1999 or so. So HTTP 1.1. HTTP 2 incorporates some ideas that came from Google, which contributed some of the crafting of the standards, so that you can have a much better throughput of your HTTP transaction. So, see, typically when you request a page and the page comes back to you, it has a whole bunch of headers that's coming back to you in clear text. So what HTTP 2 tries to do is to compress it. So you technically have a quicker response on your site. But what that also means is that your browser should have the ability to decompress it when it receives it. So the browsers will be updated along the way. If it is HTTP 2, that's fine. Otherwise, it just takes it as per normal. Okay, so HTTP is an example. QUIC, quick. Quick is another standard that is being proposed by Google to do essentially this. Whether it will fly or not, we don't know. But that's the beauty of it. To kind of replace TCP. TCP is a connection-based protocol, right? Because that's basically it. So I have to establish a connection with you, otherwise I cannot transact with you. The second type of a protocol is UDP, the user data link protocol. There is no connectivity required. So what Quick is trying to do is to write on top of UDP and give you some sense of connections and connection-based stuff. So it's actually an interesting idea. So look it up, and it gives you a different flavor of doing stuff. Now again, all of these things are being crafted as standards in IETF. Now you want to implement a solution using that, go for it. Makes sense, right? Other things in security and privacy. Now these things are very important today with all the stuff that we have seen from Snowden's release of stuff and all the stuff that's happening since then. I think the last bullet point is closest to my heart because like I said, I'm from Red Hat and I believe in the open source model of development. Primarily because that's how you can prove something works. And I can check the code, I can make an improvement to it and make it better for everybody else. So the IETF works on a principle that you need to have working code. No point telling me that it works. No point having a flow chart that says this is how it's supposed to work. Build the code. Show me that it works. Then I believe you. So if you have two competing ideas, okay, and one competing idea actually has built code that shows how this works in real world, the other one does not, which one would you prefer? The tendency, I think you've got working code, let me see whether I can make it better, and why are the two different? So maybe I can incorporate some ideas from the second one and make it. But when you have two competing code bases, that becomes even more interesting. So why is one better than the other? So you can now see and then improve on it. So there's a lot of opportunity for collaboration. And to me that is very, very important to move the entire ecosystem forward. Okay, so like I said, there are some stuff that is happening HTTP/2 or version 2. Let me just move to the next one, which is about security. I think this is, again, a very important component. One of the challenges, as I mentioned earlier, is that the internet was never designed to be secure on day one. That's not the objective. The objective is you put security at endpoints. That is a far better model than securing the channel all the way. So if you encrypt some stuff, the traffic goes through, is an encrypted traffic, but the system itself doesn't encrypt it necessarily. You can if you want to, but you don't have to. But let it go, the endpoint takes it, decodes it, and do whatever you need. That is a better way to, because you can change the endpoints. If I have to change the pipe as well, that becomes a problem. Because I don't know where the pipe is going to go, right? I mean, at the end of the day, to me, what is amazing is that the internet actually works. Right? It actually works. For everything that we throw at it, it still works, right? So, like I mentioned earlier, running code drives the tech development. You must show me working code because it's the best way to prove that something is workable. Now, it's not that it has to be 100% everything, but at least it's a starting point. Okay? At every IETF meeting, like I said, IETF meetings happens 3 times a year. There's always, it's preceded on the weekend before with a hackathon to look and do some stuff, to create some stuff, to work on some particular idea. So that's a very interesting and nice way to engage people to come together and do something. Okay. This is a sort of a flow chart, kind of easy, but basically says how the work gets done. There are different stages. Yeah. By the way, all of this stuff is on the IETF webpage as well, so you don't have to look through this on a detailed basis for now. So, how does IETF come to make a decision? How do we, in a group, a particular standard, a particular discussion, we will now need to vote on something? How is it voted on? When a meeting happens face to face during the IETF meetings, when something needs to be voted on, as you can see in bullet number 2, no formal voting. There is either a show of hands, but more often than not, people will hum in agreement, or if you don't hum, there's no agreement. So, to practice, if you agree with this, can you hum? Okay. Everybody agree? You know why this works? Because a lot of times in this IETF meetings, right, they may have gone there with their bosses. Okay? There will you cannot deny corporate interests as well. There will always be corporate interests. So sometimes one particular standard, one particular vote for a particular thing may have an issue with the corporate that is, kind of gung-ho with it, right? But maybe the engineer that is sitting there as well is not too happy with a particular idea, but, so if it comes to a vote, if he were to show his hand up and his boss is next to him, he may have a problem. Right? So one way to do it is just hum. Everybody just humming. So the louder the hum, the more consensus there seems to be. But that is not the final thing. The final thing happens at the mailing list. So at the end of the meeting, at the end of IETF meeting, they revert back to the mailing list. They say, during the meeting, the face-to-face, the hum was quite loud. So we think everybody agreed, but we have to finalize the mailing list. Yeah, and then you agree on the mailing list, or disagree. In other words, you can still disagree. Okay? So that's kind of nice. So these, what beauty of this is an engineer solving a problem. Right? We know there are politics involved in all these things. There will always be somebody who's got an ulterior motive. So how do we fix this thing so that everybody can move forward? Okay? All right. Other things, how IETF does what we do. IETF documents, everything that we create, they are all 100% open for you. It's all online. Look at it, read it, use that as the basis to build whatever you want to build. This contrasts with a lot of other standards organizations. The other standards organizations came from a different business model. Their business model is to create standards and print on books and sell it to you. They make money from the books, which is, in my opinion, is a very slow way of doing stuff. IETF documents are open anytime, download, read it, implement it, and off you go. Okay. And all these documents are labeled as RFCs, or it started off as, and it still is, requests for comments. Currently there are over 7,000 RFCs. Okay, let me throw some numbers to you. RFC 822. You know what RFC 822 is? SMTP. What is SMTP? Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. So all the mails that you have ever sent, other than Novell or any of those proprietary mail systems, was following SMTP. And SMTP is defined in RFC 822. Actually, it's been updated to 2822. But 822 defines how email is to be sent. So if someone asks you, can you send me something that's RFC 822 compliant? What would that mean? That means you can go through a mail server. The mail can go through. That's it. Okay? So RFCs are the way you assess this thing, right? Let me move a little bit faster to look at some other stuff. We have not only creating new standards today, there are things that we need to do for the future. So there is an Internet Research Task Force as well. So this is where new ideas that may be, like in our Smart Nation project in Singapore, are there things that we need to do that the Internet today does not offer? I'm sure there is, plenty. Okay, so this is an area that we can look at. I mean, the first one, crypto forum, cryptographic stuff. I mean, for me, it's very important that any smart nation deployment is secure. By default, that is, in other words, I cannot turn off security. Whatever that is transmitted from my sensors to the server has to be encrypted channel. I don't want someone else to snoop into whether it's a temperature or not. I don't care. Why should anybody look at it and do something with it, unless other than the authorized people? So encrypted. So the channel must be encrypted. So cryptography is an important thing. Human rights issues, right? So we have countries that block the internet access today. How do we get around that? The internet will work around blockages. We always do. Even in Singapore, we have sites that you cannot go to. You can work around it. That's easy. Right? It's public. Yeah. Send me a note. I'll tell you how. And so on and so forth. There's so many other things to do. There's a lot of stuff for the future. Okay? And there's incredible amount of opportunity to collaborate. Okay, let's look at some stuff which is more pertinent for now. I just want to say, okay, why would I want to be part of IETF or do anything with IETF? It's all about standards. Okay, standards are the way that we can build things that are interoperable. We all know that. I mean, how many times have you been frustrated at the fact that you cannot use your Bluetooth stack in your Fruit phone with another Bluetooth stack on another phone? Why can't I use this? Why is it not interoperable? It's supposed to be interoperable. Why is it not? Okay, so we have a problem, and we've got many other problems along the way. Even though they claim to follow some standard, yet there is something not quite right. So standards become a very important aspect. Okay, and IETF believes in that 100%. Let me just move into the reason I'm doing this today is because I mentioned we have 3 IETF meetings per year, and the way we do that is we take the whole world and break into 3 chunks: North and South America, the Americas, Europe and Africa, EMEA, and Asia Pacific. So we have 1 meeting in each zone per year. 3 meetings. Okay? And every of these meetings, it lasts about a week. Okay? There's a lot of small little meetings, we're all working groups, so all kinds of stuff going on. And each of these meetings is numbered. So IETF 1, IETF 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. And lo and behold, this year, we're having the 100th meeting of IETF, and it will be in Singapore. So, it's happening in Singapore, 100. I like that number, so we're trying very hard to get it in Singapore. And we did it, all right? So we have it in Singapore, so I'm very keen to see this succeed because we want to have people participate in IETF. It doesn't cost you an arm or leg to take part in IETF. You know, get onto the mailing, see its areas of interest, and see what you can do to come forward and contribute. If there are startups around here that want to do stuff, that's a great way to get your brand out there as well. So, oh yeah, I'm from this thing, doing whatever it is I'm doing. Okay. So it's happening in November this year.
Where?
At the Raffles City. Okay. So it's a Raffles City from November 12th to the 17th. And please come. You know, it's a geek fest. Okay. I give you some stories behind IETF events. So every time an IETF happens somewhere, the guys who go there in the hotel or the conference center or whatever, they find that A, the networking is pretty bad. The Wi-Fi is just hopeless. So what do these guys do? They go and fix it. We fix the Wi-Fi, fix the networking, fix everything. It works so well that when they leave, the people say, you know, do you want to take this away or are you keeping it for us? So that because it's so useful, everything works. So these are the guys who wrote the standards, so they know what to do. They'll fix it for you, and your job is done. Right? So don't have to go back to some tender who says, I don't know where to click. So they know what to do and they do it so well. Okay? So it's kind of fun to see these things happen.
That's a good story.
It happened. I mean, I think a few meetings ago in London, it was an old hotel. They completely revamped the entire networking there. Such that the hotel now is like, wow, what is this? We didn't know the internet works like this. It's so nice to see, right? So it happens. Okay. So we have had many events in Asia Pacific over the years. So the 100th one is happening in Singapore. information I'll share with you with my colleagues from ISOC as well. So with that, I will end here. My contact details are there, Amelia and Olivia as well. So please reach out to us. There are things that we can do. Honestly, I want to see more Singapore participation in IETF. We don't have very many participants in IETF. Okay, let me rephrase that in a different way. We don't have that people whom we can identify coming from Singapore directly participating in IETF. There are, but they're coming through their corporate organizations. So they may be under, Cisco, under Red Hat, under IBM or whatever, which is fine, but we don't know that, they are in Singapore. We may not know. So it would be nice if we have some way to identify. So at least we can say, we have contributions from Singapore. Because we are too small a city that sometimes we seem to miss this thing, and we are too global as well. So sometimes we miss the connection. So I'm hoping that this talk, as well as reaching out to you guys, will get this thing going. All right. With that, thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Question.
Yes, question.
Can you explain a bit about the Internet Society and the organization? So can an individual join, and
Sure.
what activities,
Yeah. Thanks for that, Chuck. So IETF is a engineering standards body. The legal cover comes from Internet Society, global. Internet Society was set up in 1990 by Vint Cerf and I think Bob Kahn as well, right? Bob Kahn also was involved in that. These are the two fathers of the internet, as it were, right? That's the branding that they carry, to their credit. So the intention of our Internet Society was to give this opportunity to cover legally IETF work. So in the process, ISOC has now created chapters around the world, and in Singapore we have an Internet Society Singapore chapter, and I think there are 100 and something chapters around the world under ISOC. And ISOC is it's a member-driven organization. Anybody can join. The Internet Society Singapore chapter is the way you join it. So you go to isoc.sg. That's how you can sign up with the Internet Society. And we have all kinds of stuff that we do. For example, the last thing Internet Society Singapore chapter did was around the Cybersecurity Act that is being proposed by government. And we needed to understand what the implications of it. So we had a forum, and so a lot of stuff is detailed as well and documented on our web pages as well. We have also done pro bono work with the issues with torrenting of movies. You may have read about certain organization going after individuals for allegedly downloading pirated stuff. But the way they went around doing it, and I was the one who signed the letter, as a president of the Internet Society, the way the law firm did what they did, we thought was not right. And so we filed a complaint to the Law Society, and the Law Society agreed, yes, there's a problem, and so they kind of knuckle-dusted the lawyers, which is nice to know. But that thing is still going on, but the thing is, at the end of the day, we need to educate people. So the Internet Society is all about educating people. What are your rights? What can you do? What you should do? How you can contribute, and so on. Singapore has got a peculiar situation because here we don't have the challenge of internet access. You go outside our borders, that becomes a problem. So Internet Society's chapters around the world are focused primarily on local access for people in the country or the city. We don't have to worry about that. So let's look at policy issues. So we look at other areas. But that doesn't mean that you cannot contribute to other. We do try and work with other chapters as well to see what we can do with them or for them as well. Okay, so I hope that answers the question. So anybody can join. The chapter in Singapore costs $50 a year.
And the global one is free.
And the global one is free. So do your sums, but please join us. You are here in Singapore.
The global one is a individual one, so you can actually just sign up online at the Internet Society website. But it's global. It talks about global issues, whereas the Singapore one talks about local issues.
So we have some documents that the global has created here about public policy regarding internet access and stuff like that. There's a whole bunch of documents that we do create. We do have a policy team within ISOC Global to look at access controls, censorship, rights of women to get to do whatever it needs to be. So all the things that we all concerned about. So ISOC Global does that. So each chapter you focus on the area of your local interest. So that's the distinction. So for example, ISOC Nepal, when the earthquake happened in Nepal, they helped set up Wi-Fi access points so that they can connect up people. because that was more important, which is obviously a critical infrastructure issue. So that was more concern to them. So we have different issues here. Other chapters have got different issues they focus on.
So in general, ISOC is actually a society for individuals, rather than companies.
No, yes. ISOC is a society for individuals. However, we do have corporate membership. We do have corporate members at a global level. So like a lot of the global, internet-related companies are members of ISOC as well, as a corporate perspective.
So corporate membership is?
Corporate membership, you have to look up the
different levels. There are different levels of it. So you think about it, there are 3 levels. That you can go in as an individual under the individual membership. You can go in as a chapter member under the chapters, which is Singapore chapter in Singapore, or different chapters all around the world. And then there's a corporate membership, which is by company, and a lot of those are the big multinationals, but there are also smaller companies, and there are different levels within that. There's professional at a very low level, right up to platinum gold memberships at a higher level.
So that's how the membership. So individual, chapter members, and corporate members. So these the chapter and corporate members are the ones who vote on an annual basis the members to become members of the Board of Trustees. So the Board of Trustees there are 12 of them, and I'm one of the 12, and I got voted in last year in June. So currently there's an election going on. It's not the entire board changes, it's only 1/3 of the board changes every year. So there are three of them who are being re-elected, so they have to stand for re-election, and there may be others coming in as well. So the seats will be filled sometime in a month or two. Okay, so that's how the organization works. And we have a full-time staff of about 90 people globally, Internet Society Global. Any other questions? So IETF 100, be there. Let's have fun. Let's make the internet work for everyone. Right. So with that, thank you very much.
We have about maybe 200-300 in the mailing list.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
thanks for Harish. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Sean.
Yeah, thanks guys. We have a couple of minutes because our pizza is not here. Right, so
Pizza not here.
yeah, on the way. Right. So
the internet's tricky.
yeah. You should not insult them. Okay, the thing about we will still continue this weekly session, right? Even though there's a smaller group. But the interesting thing is that my phone is pinging because everybody is asking me to move the camera a bit higher.
I see.
Can you adjust the voice? So I know that people are watching. Right? So the number of people has gone up in terms of watching. Maybe we might change the format a little bit. I think it's also good that we have a physical session, right? Instead of pizza, whoever can make it, do come by. But guys, excuse me. Hey guys at the back, if you guys need to talk, can you go outside?
Thank you.
Thank you. So if the session goes on, I think what we could do is to make it a little bit more intimate, meaning that we had tried this with Shihua last year, right? So Shihua actually sat right in front, and it was like a conversational thing, right? More than a presentation. So we might try that out, right? So it becomes a little bit more intimate. And whoever is here can have pizza, after that, right? So I think we might try that round going towards the future because a lot of people are actually watching the videos. So we need to actually fuck up the video quality pretty soon, right? Yeah. Yeah. So you have to make sure that we have we are able to do that.
I think the challenge is your fluorescent tubes.
Yeah. So unfortunately,
This is new again. Wasn't there last week?
no, it's there every week. The process is there every week. It's just that we didn't switch on the line.
Oh.
Right. So it is easy to do it here because it's a fixed location, right? And everybody knows where it is. Although next week we don't have this location, right? Next week we are looking for a new location. I will send over email to you guys where it would be, but it will still be in this vicinity, right? So let's watch out for that. So with that, I will close this week so we can network while waiting for our pizza.